Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. This is Glenn Ambrose here with Ben.
Hey, Glenn, you just looked at me for a second like I was going to start. It was weird.
You weren't going to start?
I wasn't going to start.
Oh, good.
It's your show.
Oh, yeah. See, now I feel the pressure.
Good.
Okay.
I like this.
So let's embrace our differences today. That's what we're going to talk about, embracing differences. How's that sound, Ben?
It sounds scary. I don't like talking about my differences.
No? You like talking about your similarities?
I don't know. I don't really like talking about myself at all.
Well, let's just talk about embracing differences anyway. Let's go. We're going to go there.
All right.
So basically, how I'm going to start this off is, first you need to understand that we are all different. So fighting that is kind of futile. That's just, at the end of the day, that's the truth of the matter. So we are all different. So we might as well start embracing it. There is this need that we have to fit into society, and it's just part of our makeup. That's why we have societies. So there is that pull to kind of be accepted and to fit in, and that's natural. So it's not that we need to avoid that aspect of ourselves. There is going to be certain parts of that, but we just don't need to change who we are to be accepted. It feels like we need to change who we are, and we need to be who people want us to be. And at the end of the day, it's actually, people are going to connect with us better if we're just ourselves. If we just act like ourselves, then people relax around us. They feel like they can be themselves. And that's when you actually start forming authentic relationships. If you're developing relationships with people and you're not yourself, then basically you're just kind of developing a relationship that isn't real. And at some point it's going to fall apart because you're not going to be able to keep up the facade. Or it's never going to go anywhere. You're never going to get anything out of it. You might be able to see that person and just have a very surface conversation with them, but it's never going to go anywhere because you can't be yourself. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that I think that like this is a big subject right now, especially because I feel like there's a lot of as you said, everyone's different, so there's a lot of ways to be different. So at some point, everybody probably feels different, whether it's because of your race or ethnicity, or because of your hair color, because you have glasses, like little kids that get picked on and bullied. Like, the whole anti-bullying movement is a big thing, and a lot of those kids feel different. The kids that are getting bullied feel different, but of course the kids that are bullying also feel different, and probably is why they're lashing out in some ways. Right,
and that's actually a really good point. That's that's the reason that the reason that there is bullying and there is judgment out there is because people don't feel good about themselves. As soon as I can point the finger at somebody else and say there's something wrong with them, then my ego goes up. I get a little ego boost. I feel better about myself, because by me pointing out that there's something wrong with somebody else, by default, that means that I don't have that wrong with me, so I must be better. And it's subconscious. It's just such a part of our society that we do it without thinking about it. All complaining is like that. If I complain about something, by default, I'm saying that I wouldn't do it that way, so I'm better than, and it's all a false way to raise our self-esteem. We are craving to have good self-esteem, so we do things like that make us feel better about ourselves. But the problem with it is it's just temporary. It's just a temporary little fix, and it's not real. So we don't actually feel good about ourselves. You know, that self-esteem rise it's not really feeling good about ourselves. It's our ego creating more of a separateness. If I'm different than somebody else and I'm separate from them, and, you know, it just makes the gap further. So it never actually gets us anywhere. Now, you know, real self-esteem, real self-love is the opposite. It actually does get us somewhere. You know, it does make us feel better about ourselves. It makes us less judgmental towards others. And when we're being our authentic selves and we're secure with that, then one, people are just less judgmental towards us as a general rule, because there's not that energy, there's not that falseness around who you are, and the other person feels more comfortable. So you don't get attacked as much. I mean, I know with well, what I'll call my former life, you know, when I was younger, I was walking around angry a lot, and when I was walking around angry, there was an energy that I was putting off of that. And somebody else that was angry, it would trigger something in them. And I literally had people, you know, at least verbally attacking me for pretty much nothing. But it was just an energy thing. It was like I was walking around angry. I got too close to them. They were angry. And if something was irritating them, it tended to come out on me. You know, now it's the opposite. If I'm a lot more secure with who I am, and very rarely does anybody come at me attacking. And if they do, it's okay. It's okay because, you know, my self-esteem has risen. I mean, I'm sure that I have further to go in that. I'm sure I can increase my self-love even more than it is, definitely. But it's to a point now that 90% of the time, if somebody takes a stab at me, it goes right through me. It doesn't stick. I know that there isn't truth to it. I'm happy with who I am, you know, and I'm happy with the way I live. So if you can raise your self-esteem, you know, your actual self-love, and feel good about who you are and just be yourself more, you get attacked less, and there's less controversy. And if it does come, it floats right through you.
And that's, you know, I think that personal self-esteem and like looking inward and stuff as a way to feel good about your own differences is a fantastic start, and that it kind of reminds me of like the whole, I think we talked about this on the last episode or 2 episodes ago, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Like if you have a problem with people treating you differently, the best way for that to stop would be if everybody stopped treating, you know, people that are different in negative ways, and, you know, for you to stop, because everybody that feels that way has some sort of way that they treat other people differently also.
Right.
Like, nobody, you know, someone might be very sensitive about their weight, but and they don't like when people attack that, or they don't like when they feel out of place because of that. But then they might feel uncomfortable around someone that dresses with a lot of piercings or has a lot of piercings and tattoos, and then that person feels uncomfortable because they're trying to be themselves, and like, you know, everybody is just kind of feeling awkward around each other, and everybody feels isolated.
Yeah, there's judgment. Judgment is judgment, and it doesn't matter what flavor it takes. It still does the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, so and it's true. It's the more judgmental we are, the more we feel judged. You know, it goes back and forth. It's if I'm judging others, then, you know, a lot of time, and I found that I found that when I was judging other people, and I made a conscious effort to stop doing that, I noticed that my self-esteem rose. I felt better about myself. And I noticed the reason why was because I was judging myself less. Because I need to be perfect if I'm going to judge other people, or as close to it as possible.
Yeah.
Because I am creating a judgmental existence. I live in a judgmental world that I've created. So I need to be as perfect as possible. So therefore I can pick on other people as much as possible and raise my fake self-esteem. I can feel better about myself. Well, that puts a lot of pressure on me to be perfect. Because if I'm not perfect, then I can't say I'm better than somebody else. So that's how it goes full circle. The more I judge other people, and for the more different things I judge other people, the more perfect I have to be. So when I do point my finger at them, my self-esteem will rise. Not my actual self-esteem, but my ego will rise. And I'll feel better about myself momentarily. And it doesn't get us anywhere. But when you were talking, one thing popped into my head that's very important is we have more control over our reality than we realize. And it's, when we feel better about ourselves, it affects people around us in more ways than we think it does. It's just the energy we're putting out, just the way we carry ourselves. And I've seen it with people, with my life coaching clients that will have a problem with a family member or a mate or something, and they'll have that problem, and I'll get them to take the focus off the other person and work on themselves. And as they get more secure with themselves, and they just sometimes they need to set healthy boundaries, but as they work on themselves, do the inside work, and they feel better about themselves, all of a sudden the other person starts shifting and starts seeing things in different ways. And that's one of the very exciting parts about life coaching is very often, definitely regularly, I'll hear stories from my clients about how either somebody in their family or somebody that they work with or one of their friends has come to a kind of a new awakening of happiness and really overcome a big obstacle in their own personal lives as a result of what my client was living, the way they were living. I wasn't even, that's fulfilling to me. I mean, I never even met this person, and their life has been enhanced by the work that I'm doing with their coworker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's neat,
Well, I know people that, and this was very flattering, that people that said, because there was a story in the paper a few months ago about the things that I was doing with you. And,
really?
Yeah. And
I should read that.
Don't. I don't like it. But a lot of people, not a lot, not a ton, but several people said that, they were inspired and stuff and wanted to, kind of follow a similar path or go back to the gym or start, trying to do something in some way to change their life for the better and to start thinking more positively and stuff. And that's a direct result of work that you have done, and you've never met those people.
Right.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's, I just kind of feel like I need to say this. I don't really take the credit for it. It's fulfilling. I do just the best I can at being me. And that's kind of what this podcast is about. I like doing this stuff. When somebody comes to me with an issue, may it be in a gym or may it be in their personal lives, to me, a lot of times people get worried, like, oh, Glenn, is it okay really that I'm dumping this stuff on you? And to me, I've already been through the darkness. I've already been through all that stuff. So when people come to me with their difficulties, it doesn't feel difficult to me. It feels like I already got my eyes on a prize. I already see them coming out of this and how wonderful things are going to be when they get there. So it's not that heavy. So it's not, this isn't this isn't work for me. So I can't feel like I can take any credit. But it's, I know that's not the point of what we're talking about. It's the dynamic of how it spreads.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to see that, how it spreads. And it's just when you do good and you feel good, we can get stuck in our heads and be like, oh, this really isn't doing anything. But it does. It affects people, and it affects people in ways we don't even know. My friend Paul that I grew up with and worked with lost his leg and became a very successful disabled athlete. And I've been reading I read his first book, One Man's Leg, and I'm reading his second book, Drinking from My Leg. I think that's what he did. He did that when he celebrated. I think he actually drank beer out of his leg. But his fake leg, not the real one.
Okay, all right. I was like, when we get done with this podcast, you're going to have to explain that to me.
But, and one of the things that he did is he did a lot of speaking gigs too. And when you're reading his books, that's he puts in there different ways of how, either people saw him on TV, or he spoke with somebody that just had an amputation, or he went to a school and spoke with a bunch of kids. And you don't know how that's going to affect people. But he's regularly getting letters after those types of things and telling people how he inspired them and how much that means to him. So now if he's going out there, if he was living his life going, I'm going to go inspire people, like that's my job, it wouldn't come across anywhere near as well as it comes across. He goes out there being the best him that he can be. He's being true to himself, and in that course and telling his story, there's people that are getting inspired by his story, all over the country and all over the world. I mean, he literally traveled the world competing. So it just reminds me of one of my, a really good quote I like. It's something to the effect of, be yourself, everyone else is taken.
I like that.
Everyone else is taken. I mean, you can only be the best you that you can be. So it's just, being the best. And it's constantly evolving. The best Glenn that I can be is constantly evolving,
Yeah, absolutely. So it's time for a question portion.
Question time.
And can you tell the listeners at home or in their car or wherever they are, can you let them know where they can send questions if they want something discussed on the show?
I could let them know.
That would be nice.
Okay, I will then. You can send questions to me, and I'll tell you where.
Oh yeah, you're really trying to stretch this out.
Oh no, I feel like being silly. So yeah, you can send questions to life-enhancement-services.com. That's the website, and there's a link there that you can contact me. And also on the Facebook page, Life Enhancement Services, and my personal Facebook page, Glenn Ambrose. That's me. So you can reach me on all those channels.
Very nice. And our question today is, how do you deal with feeling different when you are isolated from everyone around you?
Well, when you're isolated from everyone around you, it's the good news is the work that you need to do is all internal work anyway. So it's got to start within, and it's got to happen within. All work is internal work. All love is self-love. So you can't give away what you don't have. You need to start doing the work on the inside first, and to build that self-esteem. This is going to sound crazy, but the best way to do that is to do esteemable things.
Please explain.
Do you believe that? To build self-esteem, you would do esteemable things.
Wow.
Amazing.
I think we should do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah. Well, that's how long it would be, though.
Yeah.
It'd be about 5 seconds long.
So what like let's give a specific situation. So let's say what's a good all right, people that feel different sometimes say that they feel like a redheaded stepchild. Please explain what you would tell a legitimate redheaded stepchild that feels isolated. One, obviously, they're probably the only redhead around.
This is such a crappy example.
two, there's this whole other rest of the family, and they don't. So, what would you tell that person who feels different?
Well, to be honest with you, like stepchild in this day and age is probably the norm. So, all
right, well, we're just going with a list.
But I mean, to somebody that's feeling different, I mean, it's one thing that I try to show people is how to learn to listen to themselves. Like everything we need to know, we already know. It's already within us. So it's when you're getting closer to your truth and loving yourself, what you're doing is just kind of removing some of the baggage that society's put on top of who you really are. So when you're most people have experienced this on some level. When somebody's talking about something, a particular subject, and all of a sudden you feel something click inside your chest, and it's not like an intellectual, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's something that just you feel a little feeling in your chest, and you go, oh, that just struck me. That's you remembering something about your truth. And that's something that we need to cultivate. We need to learn to be honest with ourselves and go inside and actually find out how we feel about things. I think that would be a first step, is learning, asking, like a lot of time. Here's an example that I hear regularly is somebody will be like, especially with couples, what do you want to eat? I don't care. What do you want to eat? I don't care. Well, you know what? They actually both do want something to eat. They're just not conscious of it. They're so out of touch with what they want that they're actually not able to access the answer to that question. It's a very simple question. You can do little exercises like that to start getting in touch with yourself. What do I feel like eating? Something simple as that. And then, what do I really feel like eating? And then just kind of try to feel the answer in your chest instead of thinking up the answer in your head. And if you start connecting, that's the first step, is just connecting with who you are inside and learning to kind of hear that inner voice a little bit and to learn how to follow that a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that like a lot of it is just if you're feeling different, then there's something that you're insecure about.
Right. And
even if people are, making you feel insecure about that, you're allowing them to.
Absolutely. Everybody's, that's the biggest tool. One of the biggest tools in growing is understanding that other people are your mirror. Years ago, I remember something had happened, and I was coming across as nice as I could be in a situation, and they were so defensive, and it was driving me crazy. And I was like, why are they so defensive? Why are they so defensive? I'm not attacking. Why are they so defensive? And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, I'm recognizing it. They're my mirror. I've been very defensive in my past, and I bet you I still am to some degree. So as soon as I did that, I felt that little click inside my chest that I was talking about earlier, and the light bulb went off, and I went, oh my God, this person is just a wonderful teacher for me. They're showing me that I am still defensive and I need to do some work on that. So I started working on that. And then the situation got better with them. The less defensive I was, the less defensive they became. And I mean, sometimes there's people that are so stuck in their patterns, there's absolutely nothing you can do. And they're going to stay there no matter what you do. But as a general rule, the people that are in my life now, I don't attract people that are real defensive because I've done a lot of work on that. And I don't really need to see that mirror that much anymore.
So I think that it's because obviously, like, the term feeling different is talking about in a negative way, because everyone's different and there are a lot of positives that are different, and people aren't insecure about those, but they need to focus on those. And if there's something that makes you feel different and isolated, that is a negative thing. For example, if you are feeling different because you're overweight, you're insecure about that, you're not happy because of that. So you need to do the inner work to figure out what you're going to do to make yourself happy and less insecure about that. If you're I know someone that feels like they are not as intelligent as the rest of their family, but they are. I mean, just because somebody's book smart and
Right.
everybody has different levels. So why are you insecure about this? What can you do to fix that to be happy?
Well, right. And the first thing that we need to do to move beyond anything is to accept it.
Yeah.
That's the first. What we do is we fight against things that we might not like or we might deem inappropriate. And there's nothing inappropriate about what's going on. It's just going on. It is. To fight against what is the cause of all suffering. The cause of all suffering is resistance to what is. Life is happening. Whatever's going on at this particular moment is going on at this particular moment. Now, however I am right now, it's just how I am, period. I need to accept that and not think that there's something wrong with it. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't change things and move towards evolving into a better me, but to spend energy resisting the reality of where you are, that's where we get stuck. I shouldn't be like this. I shouldn't. And we beat ourselves down and lower our self-esteem, and then we're not empowered to go change ourselves. That's why I was saying earlier, to do something that's esteemable, do esteemable acts. Do anything that's going to make you feel good about yourself. Go hold a door for somebody leaving the grocery store. Go shovel somebody's sidewalk. Go do anything. Just absolutely anything. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen. Anything that's going to make you feel good about yourself is going to make you feel good about yourself, and then you're going to want to continue doing more. And that's how you can raise your self-esteem. Be the person, like you said, be the person you want to be the change you want to see in the world. It starts with you. So whatever you want to change, just because we accepted where we are, people think that means that we agree with where we are and we don't want to change it. That's not the case. You can accept, if you're stuck in the mud, if you're just flailing and trying to get out of it, you're probably not going to get out of it. But if you just accept that you're in it and you go, okay, let's see, I'm in the mud. I'm stuck here. Okay, got it. I accept that. I don't want to be here. Okay, what's the best way to get out? Then you can look for action to take to get out, and you move out,
Do you think that feels like a hard thing to take for someone that is feeling different, and isolated and maybe slightly persecuted for being different? Do you think that telling them that, well, you're the person that has to change?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like that sounds like tough love, like a hard thing but it's not. Like if you listen to the whole
right, and to me, this is how I was fortunate enough to kind of get both sides of the coin at the same time, and it helped me to change a lot of things that I needed to change. And it's as I as I was understanding, as it was clicking inside of me that I was responsible for my life and all the destruction that I had caused in it and everything that was wrong with my life was my fault, as that was clicking with me, at the same time, it was also clicking with me that if I was responsible for all the detriment that happened in my life, then I was also capable of choosing differently and doing whatever I wanted with my life. And that was very empowering. So it was, I didn't get hung up on the negative aspect of it. It helped. That's a big pill to swallow, that you are responsible for what's going on in your life, good or bad, especially when you're focused on the bad. But if you can take that in and own that and accept that, as I said before, accept it, just accept it. It just is. Then empower yourself to make different choices. You can make whatever life you want, because we didn't get ourselves into a negative position in our lives because we wanted to. It was because we didn't know any better. So now you know better. Now you get to choose a different path.
And of course, the last thing I really want to say that I think that I don't know if we've touched on is sometimes that change that you have to make is getting away from the people that are isolating you. Sometimes,
yeah.
If it's but sometimes. It depends on the. But it depends on the situation. It's just, yeah.
It all starts with the inside work, but yeah, as you grow as a person, it's going to become a little bit more obvious. A lot of times people naturally fall away. A lot of people that can't handle a conversation about the truth don't spend a lot of time with me. They feel uncomfortable because generally I'm trying to talk about as much truth as possible. So they just don't find themselves around me, which is fine. That's okay. But yeah, sometimes you have to take some steps and just stand up for the person you want to be, because you are responsible for your own life, and if that means, having certain negative people fall out of your life, or at least distance yourself a little bit, then so be it. There's more wonderful people that will fill in that space for sure. Anybody who's healthy for you and loves you will support your growth. And sometimes people fall away and then they'll come back in after a while once, because that shift is very uncomfortable. So once they get used to it, sometimes they come back. So I think that's going to do it on our self-esteem action today. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
This podcast is presented by New Shore Productions. Executive producers Glenn Ambrose, Benjamin Barber, and David DeAngelis.